Nah, 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 nah. I can't let this slide. Ooh, I can't let this slide. Oh, I can't let this slide. No way in hell I'm gonna let this slide. Nah. I was supposed to be enjoying my night. I was supposed to see y'all tomorrow. I'm not supposed to be here for this. Nah, nah, nah. There's no way. There's no way that just happened. There's no way that just happened. Nah, nah, nah. You're playing with me. You're playing with me. You're playing with me. I'm not even supposed to be here right now. I'm not even supposed to be here right now. I'm supposed to be chillaxing, not worried about anything. I was going to come recap this game tomorrow. Talk about the good, talk about the bad, the usual gig. That's what we always do. It's a Friday night. I was going to chill out. I didn't need to really come here and do much for a preseason game. But seeing the ending of that, nah. No, 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 no. Okay, that's different. That is absolutely different. There's no way I just saw the Ravens lose a football game like that. I don't give a damn if it's the preseason. That is hilarious because that right there is a John Harbaugh special, man. I know everybody right now is absolutely cooking. The young man, I gotta get his name right because I know they've been on his case. I have his name somewhere here. Give me a second because I already see Twitter going off on this. What is it? Emory Jones or something like that? Yeah, Emory Jones. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I know everyone's getting on this young guy's named Jones, but I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'm not putting the blame on him for this. Now, there's a good chance he's probably going to be getting cut this week. I'm not even going to lie. You come in the game and you fumble the ball, you most likely going to get cut. There's no way I'm sitting here and thinking Jones is going to be on this team much longer. You do that, you probably going to get cut. But I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm not putting the blame on Jones. Everyone could throw him to the fire and blame him for this. I'm not blaming Jones for this. I'm going to look at our head coach. For a great head coach, he really makes a lot of boneheaded decisions. And tonight was one of those nights where he made a boneheaded decision. Y'all can sit back and y'all can blame this guy Jones for fumbling the ball. But explain this to me. Why did our head coach decide with 15 seconds left to go in the game and with us having the football, why did he choose to put in a guy that hadn't taken a single snap the entire game? You played Josh Johnson the first half. You played Devin Leary pretty much the entire second half. There's 16 seconds left on the clock. It's a meaningless preseason game. Why didn't you just let Leary go back out there to try to do something? You only needed 10, 15 yards. You got Justin Tucker. So obviously they were trying to go for the win because Harbaugh takes preseason games seriously. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. You get the ball back. Why did you put in a quarterback that hadn't taken a single snap the entire game? He's coming in with no snaps, no rhythm, nothing. You threw him to the fire and said, hey, man, go out there and make a play. Why? Now, keep in mind, Harbaugh is somebody that takes pride in winning preseason games because it gets to show how in-depth this team is and how we could put all these players that we bring in, that we believe in, and they can still come out here and win. We don't even need to play our starters or our backups. These guys can still win. He takes pride in these preseason wins. That's what they do. They always try to go into a preseason game with the mindset of, we're going to go out there and win the game. That's what Harbaugh does. It's clear as day. So my question is, for a guy that takes this a bit too seriously, but, it's fine. I don't mind a coach taking preseason seriously, especially if he's, looking out for these guys that are just trying to get a roster spot and he wants to give them the best chance to win. I don't got a problem with that. But why would you choose to throw a quarterback that had not played a single snap the entire game? Why would you throw him into that situation with 16 seconds left on the clock? What else is he supposed to do? Not to mention, the offensive line wasn't the best, which I guess we're going to have to talk about the whole game now that we're here. So you threw him into the fire with 16 seconds left on the clock, and he didn't take a single snap the entire game. And I'm supposed to blame him for this? No, I'm blaming the head coach that decided to make that choice. So anyone that's getting on Jones' case, I feel like you're pointing your finger at the wrong person. Yeah, he definitely did fumble the ball. Yes, he's going to be held accountable for that. He's probably going to get cut. But I don't feel he should be the one to take the blame for this, because that was literally his first snap. I don't know why you threw him in when Larry was right there. Was he injured? No. Why didn't Larry just come in to finish the game? I don't know. Why did Harbaugh decide to go to their fourth string quarterback that hadn't taken a single snap the entire game in a situation like this? I don't know. But that was classic Harbaugh. So I just wanted to hop on here and say I'm not blaming Jones for that. And again, it's a preseason game. Who cares? But it's just situations like this where you see these type of decision-making moves from Harbaugh that just frustrate the fan base so much. It's a big part of why people keep saying they want this guy gone. I'm not saying Harbaugh should lose his job. Obviously, he isn't going anywhere. But it's decisions like that. It's decisions like that. It's decisions like choosing to throw a flag, a challenge flag, on a replay that was clearly showing that guy didn't score a touchdown. He was down. His knee was clearly down before he crossed the pylon, and he threw a challenge flag there. Yet on a fourth down play, where Philly ran their brotherly shove, and it looked like the quarterback might have been short, he doesn't even attempt to throw a challenge flag there. I mean, it's the same thing. I'll probably have to make a video about this because there's three big issues with the Ravens come postseason time that always kills them. And I don't think it's going anywhere, and tonight is a perfect example of why these same things continue to harm the Ravens over and over and over again. It's these same three things, and Harbaugh plays a huge factor into that. And tonight was just another example of why you can't trust the Ravens. I don't care if it's a preseason game or not. As long as Harbaugh's the head coach and he's making decisions like this, you're not really sure you can trust this team to go the distance. It feels like the players got to find a way to win the game, while having Harbaugh here. He could potentially be part of the issue, and they'd have to overcome some of his decision makings at times. But that's for a whole nother thing. I just wanted to sit back and say, for some of the people that are gonna go off on Jones, please do not look at him as the primary suspect to put the blame on, because it was not his fault. It was not his fault. His coach, looked to the bench with 16 seconds left. Team with the ball, trying to get into field goal range. He had one quarterback who, we'll talk about the backup quarterbacks in a minute, but he had one quarterback who played in the first half. He had another quarterback that played in the second half. These two got reps. These two played in this game. So he looked at the first guy, you're not coming in. He looked at the second guy that was out there not, 10 minutes ago? He was out there. He looked at him and said, nah, you just led touchdown drive. Nah, let me go to this third guy here who hadn't taken a single snap the entire game. Let me go to this guy here and throw him into the fire with 16 seconds left and us trying to get in the field goal range. I'm not blaming that guy. He's probably going to get cut. I wish the guy best of luck, but his coach set him up. That was all on John Harbaugh, and it's another example of why you can never fully trust this Ravens team, no matter how you look at it. Harbaugh's decision-making in some of these key situations have always been an issue with the Ravens. And the fact that we're seeing it in the first preseason game says something. I don't know if this is an omen that's going to define the season. I don't know. But we're already back to Ravens football. You can feel this. As a Ravens fan, you can feel we're back. This was such a Ravens loss. It was such a classic Ravens loss. It's so hilarious that you're seeing this in a preseason game. There's no way I just watched this team lose a football game like that. Oh, man, I miss this, man. I miss John Harbaugh's decision-making costing us football games. I missed all of this. You gotta miss this, because who else but us, right? It's crazy how you lose a football game like that. It's crazy how you lose a football game like that. Oh, my God. Oh, my God, man. But, yeah, I just wanted to say, please, 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 do not blame this guy, Emory Jones. Do not put all the blame on him. His coach set him up. You don't give a guy that hadn't played the entire game snaps in the biggest moment of the game. You're trying to get to field goal range and you just throw them out there. No rhythm, no connection with these guys. Just go win the game. You don't do that. He set up that quarterback. I don't care what anyone's got to say. He set that quarterback up. And I'm not blaming him for fumbling the ball, especially knowing how the offensive line was playing. But, that's a different conversation. I just wanted to put that out there. This one's on John Harbaugh. And the fact that we're seeing this right now is, man, it's going to be a long season, man. Oh, boy, I can't wait. I can't wait for week 1 in Kansas City. Because I know, I'm going to say it right now. There's going to be 3 moments where Harbaugh does something that's going to hurt this team. His decision-making is going to hurt this team. Whether he's going for 2, because for some reason, every time we score against Kansas City, he loves going for 2 against Kansas City. Because it's like, well, it's Andy Reid, it's Patrick Mahomes, we got to go for 2. So I don't know if it's going to be a 2-point conversion, it's going to be a 4th down attempt, or it's going to be something with special teams. But there's going to be 3 moments in that game against Kansas City, week 1, where Harbaugh's going to make some decisions that's going to backfire on us. I can just feel it. But we're thinking too far ahead. Let me actually talk about this game as a whole in terms of the good and bad. I don't really want to cover the game. It's a preseason game. We really aren't looking at the game. And again, I'm not mad we lost the game. I don't care. It's just funny how we lost the game in such a Harbaugh fashion. We've been losing so many football games like that over the years under Harbaugh. And the fact that we're doing it in a preseason game is so hilarious. But yeah, we do got to talk about the good and the bad that we saw from this. Straight up, the good, which some of you guys in the chat was going on. You've been speaking about it, and we all saw it. Nate Wiggins, bro. Nate Wiggins came out here and just balled out. He was the MVP of this game, man. He was the best performer out of everybody on the field today for the Ravens. Nate Wiggins, man, was playing like a shut-down corner. I think he had 6 PBUs, bro. He just kept stopping any pass from happening, man. Straight up stopping any pass from happening. I loved what I saw from Nate Wiggins. Clearly was the best. He gets the gold medal since the Olympics is happening right now. He gets gold medal for the Ravens. I'm giving him that. He was balling out. Nate Wiggins looked great. That was the good part. The bad part is he suffered a shoulder injury because, Harbaugh chose to keep him in a bit too longer. I don't even know why he came to play in the second half. He balled out in the first half. Take him out. There was nothing else to see. But he suffered a shoulder injury. We don't know how severe that shoulder injury is. I'm seeing right now, I think they asked Harbaugh about it. They're going to have to take a look at it tomorrow. But yeah, they have no updates about it. They'll know tomorrow with testing. So we don't exactly know how bad this shoulder injury is. If it's severe, I'm going to be pissed off. If it's a severe injury for him, I'm going to be pissed off. But I don't know. I don't know. I legitimately don't know, and I hope for the best for this dude, man. I hope for the best that Nate Wiggins isn't dealing with anything major, man. I hope for the best he isn't dealing with anything major. But we don't have any updates in terms of Wiggins. We'll just have to see how that goes. But yeah, Wiggins gets the gold. I would say the person that gets the silver, no question, it's got to go to Trenton Simpson. I mean, this guy literally was balling out there. He was the primary reason why the Eagles couldn't get off any huge runs. Because our D-line today couldn't stop the run to save their lives. And if you were watching the first half, man, they just kept running the ball and that D-line just kept getting beat. But Trenton Simpson was making the right plays. He was reading the gaps correctly and getting exactly where he needed to get to stop the running back. If it wasn't for Trenton Simpson, legitimately, if it wasn't for Trenton Simpson, they probably get at least 1 or 2 10-plus yard runs. So Simpson did his thing. I'm going to give him the silver medal because he did his thing. I believe he had 8 tackles, 7 or 8 tackles in this game. He legitimately was playing the right way. He was fast, he was physical, he was everywhere. I liked what I saw from Trenton Simpson. Obviously, you want to see him, be able to continue to do this. He's been doing this in practice, which is what we love to hear. But the fact that he's doing it in an actual game, it makes it even better. And hopefully he will bring that to the regular season. And it's going to be a hell of a lot easier for him to be able to do these things while he's playing next to Roquan Smith. So I'm really excited. I loved what I saw from Trenton Simpson. No question. Now, in terms of the bronze medal, I'm looking to go between... I think Devin Leary has to get some love because I think he was solid. He played, he played well, honestly. But I still have a concern about the. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I still have a concern about the quarterbacks, and I'm probably going to speak on that. But legitimately, I'm trying to choose between um, Devin Leary. I'm legit choosing between him and then Roger Rosengarten. I'm trying to choose between legitimately Roger Rosengarten and Devin Leary. I might give it to Rosengarten because Buddy came out here and the fact that this was his first, quote unquote professional game, the fact that that was that and he performed at a high level, like guy legitimately came out and looked like a pro. I liked what I saw from Roger. Voorhees played well too. I liked how Voorhees was. Both of them were doing a great job with pass protection. But Roger, man, he was stout. Roger was stout, and I can tell you right now, he's going to be a starter. No question, he's going to be a starter week 1. Same for Voorhees. I think at this point, you kind of know what your offensive line is going to look like. Obviously, you got Ronnie, you got Linderbaum, but you can add Voorhees there, and you can add Roger as well. Those two are in, which leaves that one last spot. And it's going to be between Daniel Falele and Ben Cleveland, which we'll have to get into that. In terms of Ben Cleveland, he actually was solid today. He was very solid today, and he was consistent. That's a good thing. But yeah, I'm thinking in terms of bronze medal, I'm probably going to give it between Devin Leary and Roger. So maybe it's split, but I might be leaning more towards Roger. I really just liked the consistency I saw from him, and honestly, he was doing a damn good job. He's going to be the starting right tackle, no question. But other than that, there wasn't really much to speak about. Tylan Wallace made a hell of a catch. He was actually playing well in this game. I liked some of the things I was seeing from like Kirkland. There was a few good plays that that were made here and there. The secondary for the Ravens as a whole, didn't matter if they were backups or not. The secondary for the Ravens as a whole was stout. I mean, I don't think they gave up a lot of passes, 10 plus yards. They really did a great job in coverage down the field. They did not give up anything. So the safeties, the corners, the secondary as a whole, they were stout. They were great. The linebackers were solid. They were great. I love what I saw from there. It's just there was one aspect that was concerning. So for the good, I would say the secondary with Wiggins being the MVP, the linebacking core with Trenton Simpson being fantastic, some of the offensive line with Voorhees and Rogan and Roger, that was great. And then some plays made here and there by Wallace and by Kirkland, and Leary was actually pretty solid. So there was some good stuff that I saw from this game, but there was a good chunk of bad stuff. I think when you look on the defensive side, the aspect that was really bad, bro, we still can't stop the run. That D-line was getting cooked. Good news is your starters weren't in for the most part. You didn't really have your starters out there. You didn't really have your starters out there, but they couldn't stop the run like at all. The Eagles, just every time they ran the ball, they were getting positive yardage. There's probably 2 times you stopped them behind the line of scrimmage, but every time they ran the ball, straight up, they were just beating our D-line. So that was an issue. Straight up, just the fact that they still can't stop the run on a consistent basis is concerning. But, you kind of got to deal with it. And, of course, you didn't have guys like Adafe Owe there. You didn't have Matabike. Obviously, you didn't have Van Noy. David Ojabo did not play, and Harbaugh basically says he's coming back from an injury. We really don't want to rush him out there. So they just purposely chose not to play Ojabo. But the D lineman, for the most part, wasn't the best. And this defense is going to have some issues stopping the run, which they had issues last year stopping the run. But, Mike McDonald was so great with his defensive play calling that he was able to mask some of the deficiencies that we saw, especially with the run defense. He was able to mask it. And he was able to mask it by just switching the coverages constantly because you didn't know who was going to blitz or who was going to drop back in the coverage. That's how you get moments where Arthur Millette was getting sacks, or Kyle Hamilton was getting sacks. He really did a good job disguising a lot of things. So those disguises really helped out that D line from really dealing with a lot of the run game, because you would have guys that are supposedly backed up in the coverage. They'll come up here, and all of a sudden now they're getting ready to try to make a tackle to stop the run. I'm interested in seeing what Zach Orr is going to do with that, and I think he's probably going to lean more towards the aspect of pressure. He's probably going to be blitzing a lot to try to cover up for the defensive line being relatively weak and soft in stopping the run. Because if he's going to choose to blitz and put a lot of pressure, those guys are already going to be at the line of scrimmage, so they're going to be actively looking to try to make tackles at that point. They're not going to be backed up in coverage. So, yeah, I think the D-line is something that will be a bit of a concern, but at the same time, you do have guys there. Like I said, you got a Matabike, you got a Van Noy, you got an Adafe Owe, who we hope can actually have somewhat of a breakout season the way Matabike did. You do have some talent there, but we're not fully sure about that D-line unit as well as a pass rush. So that's kind of the aspect that is a bit concerning. That's the aspect that's a bit concerning. But yeah, that D-line and the lack of running game was very, very glaringly an issue in this game. Pass coverage, they were great. The secondary was great. The linebackers were great. They weren't giving up a lot of plays. That's great. But that run defense was not good. So that's the negative aspect from the defense. Other than that, they were great. Offensively, okay, so like I said, Voorhees and Roger, they did a great job on the offensive line. Patrick Mekari, obviously, he's pretty much here to be a backup for us, and he'll do great. He'll do solid as a backup, and he did solid in this game. He wasn't anything special, but he did solid. So, Mekari was okay. But it comes down to Cleveland and Faalele. Ben Cleveland was consistent. He was consistent. But this dude, Daniel Faalele, man, if there is any negative I can point to, especially with the offensive line, it was this dude, Daniel, bro. I cannot tell you how many times throughout both training camp and even tonight where we kept talking about number 77 over and over and over again. Throughout practice, he's been poor. And in this game, he was poor. And of course, in practice, he was constantly getting penalties. And in this game, he got a penalty. And in this game, he could not pass protect. I don't know what Ben Cleveland did to get in the doghouse, but there's no way you're going to convince me that Daniel's going to be a starter come week 1 over Ben Cleveland. No. Cleveland, Cleveland would have to play, he would have to be completely poor in practice, and for the remaining the remaining 2 preseason games, he would have to be awful. There's no way I see Daniel being in the starting offensive line over Ben Cleveland. There's no way. And I'm not saying Ben Cleveland's anything spectacular, but he's much better than Daniel. No question. Daniel was just terrible tonight. Not even going to lie. He's been bad throughout training camp. He has not had a great training camp. He's been problematic all throughout training camp. And then you see him in the game here, first preseason game, and he's still poor. I don't think he's going to work out. It just hasn't worked out. They've tried it with him. It's just not working out. So if there's any negative aspect to look at, it's got to be Daniel, bro. He was very poor. Other than that, didn't really run the ball as effectively as we usually do, but part of that has to do with the fact that the offensive line wasn't the strongest as a unit, and they're still a work in progress. But running game wasn't as strong as it needed to be. The receivers, man, Tylan Wallace, there's no way he doesn't make it on this roster. He's probably gonna be your wide receiver 4 or 5, like legitimately. No question. It's going to be like, he's going to be on the roster. Tylan Wallace is going to be on the roster. No question. Kirkland was nice. He was nice. I don't know if he's going to make the squad, but he's been nice in training camp. He's been nice in some of the practices, and he was pretty good in this preseason game. So I liked some of the plays I saw from him. So the receivers, when you just look at Kirkland and Wallace, you'll look at some good stuff. But everybody else, and these receivers just kept dropping passes. These receivers throughout the game just kept dropping passes. There wasn't a lot of passes going around, but when those passes were on the money, they were just dropping them. So all these guys they were bringing in, man, they ain't going to be here long. And for Devontae Walker, he don't count in any of this. He didn't get a single look. In the few snaps he was out there, he ain't getting not one look. He had Josh Johnson throwing the ball, and he ain't got no look. They threw him out there, and everyone's like, okay, let's get Walker at least a look. Maybe even a quick throw just to get him a catch in the preseason. Let him take off and see what he can do. Nothing. They didn't give him not one target. So this fourth round pick that we got didn't get not one target in the preseason game. Everyone's trying to see something from this wide receiver. He's been having a pretty solid training camp, and Josh Johnson doesn't even throw him a look. No targets, man. So I'm not even going to count Walker with the other receivers because they didn't even use Walker when he was in there. But for these other receivers, other than Wallace, other than Kirkland, the rest of these guys, I don't know what they saw, and I'll have to see. There's 2 more preseason games, and it's not just written in stone yet, but I don't know what they saw with Malik Cunningham to just decide, let's try to put him at receiver. I didn't see much from him here. He's got 2 more games to show us something, but I don't know how he's going to make this roster as a receiver because he ain't really show anything. Receiving core as a whole was poor, but, Wallace is going to make the team. We know that. And Kirkland's fighting, but he's off to a good start. He is off to a good start. At the end of the day, I think the Ravens are going to try to keep 6 receivers here. Most likely 5, but they may try to keep 6 receivers. So, of course, you've got Flowers, you've got Bateman, you've got Aguilar, you've got Wallace, you could get Walker, and then maybe it could be Kirkland. They may choose to keep 5, and then that's just it. But I think they may try to keep 6. It's going to be 5 or 6. It's definitely going to be 5 or 6 that they're going to keep for wide receivers. You already know the 4 you're going to have. You're kind of looking at these last 2. Wallace is going to make the roster. But, yeah, other than that, the rest of these guys, yeah, they ain't really doing much, bro. Y'all better pack up and get ready to be cut. Y'all not going to make it. If you're lucky, you'll be on the practice squad. But a lot of these receivers ain't really going to do much. I'm rooting for Kirkland, though. He showed me something here. So let's see if he can do it for 2 more games. But, man, other than the receiving core, whew, we can't ignore it, huh? Guys, we've been speaking about this throughout training camp, and we saw it here tonight. Clear takeaway. Clear takeaway from this game. If Lamar Jackson goes down, the season's over. We've got no backup quarterback. I'm dead serious with this. If Lamar is even out for more than 1 drive, we're cooked. We knew this was going to be problematic when we started off training camp with all the backup quarterbacks just constantly getting beat by our defense and throwing a bunch of picks. The offense was poor because Lamar Jackson missed the first few practices. He was sick. He missed the first few practices. He was sick. Them guys were getting cooked by the defense. Lamar comes back, and it's just tremendously better. These guys, man, we got 2 more games to see something. I don't care how practice goes, but game time, you've got to show me something. And I did not see a lot. I will say this, Leary was actually out of the we didn't even get to see the third guy until they threw in Jones for 1 snap, so I don't even know what he's capable of. But between Johnson and Leary, yeah, Leary's taking the advantage in this, bro. Leary's taking advantage. Leary wasn't terrible, but obviously he's not mind-blowing. So I'm willing to give him a try, but there's no way Josh Johnson can be the backup, bro. There's no way Josh Johnson can be the backup. But yeah, the loss of Tyler Huntley, bro. The loss of Tyler Huntley stings because you do not have a legitimate backup quarterback that you feel like you can trust to go out there and be able to execute. Leary showed me a little bit of something, but Josh Johnson, bro, you can't expect a 38-year-old quarterback to do anything at this point. There's nothing. Josh Johnson hasn't been having a great camp. And he went out here in this first half, and there was not much from Johnson that I really saw. There was maybe like 1 or 2 plays that I saw from him that I was like, okay, that's nice of Josh Johnson. But on a consistent basis, I don't look at Josh Johnson and say, that's our backup quarterback. If Lamar was to miss a little time, he could take over and get it done. No. Overall, throughout this entire unit, if Lamar misses time, bro, with the schedule we have this year and the teams we're going to face, Lamar misses any time, bro, we're done. If he goes down, it's over. There's no discussing, there's no debating it. Josh Johnson's not carrying this team. Larry's not carrying this team. The backup quarterback position is at its lowest right now for the Ravens. The loss of Tyler Huntley really does showcase itself. And it's not like Huntley was anything spectacular, but Huntley was winning that backup quarterback aspect by far. And at least he's played he's had a few starts. So he's played as a starter, he's played against some good teams, and he's at least done enough for him to earn a contract somewhere. But, with Josh Johnson, bro, I can't expect much from a 38-year-old quarterback at this point. And Larry, obviously, him just coming, and I believe he's a rookie. It's just, there's not much you can really expect from him here. If Lamar really does go down, we're cooked. Now, of course, we don't expect Lamar to go down. We expect him to have a great year and hopefully take us to the Super Bowl. But if he was to miss some time, God forbid, if he misses some time, this team, this defense is going to have to carry like they ain't never carried before. And I don't even know what you do offensively, bro. At that point, we become the Titans. I'm really thinking about that. It's a good thing we have Derrick Henry. Because if Lamar goes down, Derrick Henry, you're getting 40 carries. I'm dead serious. We're not throwing the football with Josh Johnson. Johnson, if you end up being the backup quarterback and Lamar's not in the game, do me a favor, take the snap and hand it to Derrick Henry. That guy knows how to carry a team. I don't need Josh Johnson touching the ball. If Lamar is not under center, man, just give the ball to Derrick Henry and let him keep us alive. Because I know he can carry an offense. He did that with the Titans for years. But yeah, quarterback room right now, man, they got to do everything in their power to make sure Lamar is good. Like they need to make sure Lamar is good to go in every fashion and that he is safe and protected. Which is why the offensive line needs to be in tip-top shape this season. Like, they can't play around with that. Oh, man. But yeah, other than that, it was a defensive game for the most part. I think the Eagles, they have one of the best offensive lines in football. Or at least they perform like that. We saw it all throughout last year, man. That tush-push, the brotherly shove, whatever they want to call it, that is legit, man. And it's so difficult to stop. This offensive line was just doing a fantastic job in manhandling our D-line the entire game. When the Eagles decided to commit to running the football and really committed to doing it, the Ravens defense had no response to that because they couldn't stop the run to save their lives. There was no point in even trying our secondary because they already knew they weren't going to get anything against our secondary. But in terms of running the football, man, they ran the football. They ran the football well. I believe they ended up having twice the amount of yards and plays that we had, man. It's it's very interesting how that worked out for the most part. But yeah, it's not much to really look at here. Again, it's a preseason game. We talked about the positive, we talked about the negatives. And overall, it is what it is. I ain't really tripping over it. It's a preseason game, but the end of that game was so hilarious to me. Because that's I've seen us lose football games in similar fashions, man. Just a situation where it's like, okay, let's just not mess this up. We're good to go. Everybody just handle business, and then bam, dumb play happens out of nowhere and we lose the game. We've had heartbreaking losses, both in the regular and the postseason, just off of that. So it's really funny to watch that happen again under John Harbaugh, and the fact that he just threw a quarterback that had no snaps in the game, just threw him out there to the fire, is hilarious to me. I'm gonna take a look at some of these comments here for the most part. To be honest, I stopped watching during the third quarter because I was bored. Didn't know our first round pick would get injured. Yeah, that was problematic. Didn't expect Nate Wiggins to get injured. I don't even know why they kept him in the second half. I would have taken him out after the first half. There was no reason for him to play the second half. He showed us everything we needed to see from him just by the first half. Now he's got a shoulder injury and everybody's got a concern and we don't know if he's gonna be okay. At this point, I don't care if it's anything minor. You don't play him for the rest of the preseason. And there's a good chance if this ends up becoming more severe, he could miss time to start off the season, which is horrible and shouldn't happen in the first place. Man, we have some bad luck when it comes to preseason games. It's always our stars, man. Or at least it's always our promising talent. Ah, man, it's terrible. I've been telling Ravens fans, John Harbaugh is a major problem. I'm so sick. He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere, man. He's the heartbeat of this team. And, it is what it is. If it ends up costing them If it ends up costing them a chance to win a championship, then that's just how it's gonna be, bro. There's nothing that can be said. There's legitimately nothing that can be said. Like there's nothing that can be said about that, bro. Harbaugh, he's here, man. He's not going anywhere. There's nothing that can be said. You just are gonna have to. You're gonna have to deal with it. That's all I gotta say. You're gonna have to deal with it. There's nothing that you can say about it, man. It's unfortunate, but he's here. He's here. And you just hope that it doesn't stop the team from winning the Super Bowl, or he doesn't make a decision that costs us the team in a big moment, such as choosing to not run the ball in the entire second half of the AFC Championship game. Which, again, I didn't want to think about, and I was enjoying not thinking about. But unfortunately, the broadcast that I was watching were the Eagles broadcast, and they decided they were just going to remind me that we didn't run the ball in the second half. I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to leave those commentators alone. Wanted to bring up old memories for no reason. But, yeah, we just hope that doesn't cost us in the biggest moments. But we'll see how that goes. We will never win another Super Bowl under Coach Harbaugh. I hope that's not the case because he's not going anywhere anytime soon. And I don't want to waste Lamar Jackson's career and all of a sudden he retires without a ring because we chose to stick with Harbaugh. I hope that's not the case, but we'll see. This loss can decide the Ravens' season. That's hilarious. It's not. Obviously, it's not. It's a preseason game. Nobody cares about a win or loss in a preseason game. The only thing that needs to be emphasized is John Harbaugh still finds ways to make very questionable decisions in some of the biggest moments of the game, and it's been happening at a consistent basis in the regular season for years now, and even the postseason. Like, this has been a case with John Harbaugh for such a long time, and basically post-Super Bowl, Harbaugh's made a lot of these type of decisions, and it's honestly a big part why people wanted him gone in 2018. But of course, Lamar came, saved his job, and now Harbaugh's still doing the same things. Only difference is you got a two-time MVP as a quarterback, so when you got a superstar quarterback, he tends to take the fall for a lot of your decisions. It is what it is. Why the hell did Harbaugh throw in the fourth-string quarterback at the last drive? I don't know. That's something you're gonna have to ask him. I don't know what the process is with that. I don't know what the thinking was with that. I don't know. What was the goal by just throwing him out there? He had no snaps, but let's just throw him out there. Different year, same Harbaugh. I mean, he's gonna be the same every single year he's here. Devin Leary did good. He should have been in the last drive. I thought he was coming in. In fact, when I looked back and I'm like, okay, Leary's going to be, wait, that's not Leary. And then the ball gets snapped and then he just fumbled. That got me because I was like, okay, well, Leary's done a good job. He's been solid. I don't think any quarterback's been great here, but Leary's been the best out of anything we've seen tonight. He was much better than Josh Johnson. So I'm sitting here thinking, Leary can come in. Maybe he can get a quick pass to somebody, get outside. Leary, you got to focus. You got to focus on the outside boundaries. You cannot throw in the middle of the field. Wait a minute, that's not Leary. Who's that? Fumble. Like, that's literally what happened. And I'm like, okay, all right, cool. And I legit was looking at that. I'm looking while everyone's like fighting for the ball. I'm looking closely at my TV and I'm like, who the hell is this at quarterback? That's not even Josh. For a second there, I thought they put Josh Johnson back in. But I'm like, that's not Josh. That's not Devin. Who is this guy? And then, yeah, I found out real quick who he was. And then I looked at John Harbaugh and said, why? This is going to be a long season. We'll see. Yeah, Nate Wiggins, he looked amazing. Unfortunately, he did get injured. Hopefully, it's nothing serious. Another year, another Chiefs Super Bowl win. Most likely, I don't think anyone will be surprised if the Chiefs win another Super Bowl. At this point, it is what it is. If you want to be a champion, you're going to have to beat the best. And until someone can beat the best, they're going to keep running it. Nobody will be surprised if the Chiefs win another Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure everyone's expecting it. I've seen a lot of people say that Mahomes is going to compete. He's going to complete the three-peat and do something Brady never did. And honestly, if he's able to get it done, he now has his ticket to make a conversation, or to not even just make, but he has his ticket to hold on to when it comes to the GOAT conversation. Because with the whole Jordan and LeBron thing, which again, we're not getting into that, I've always said LeBron is not going to be able to match up to the overall accomplishments that Jordan have in a short period of time. Because again, with Jordan, it's about everything he did in his short career in Chicago. Whereas LeBron, it's about about how long he's been in the league, the longevity. That's what it is for him. But it's not even just that. LeBron had to do something Jordan never did. And LeBron did it by coming back down 3-1 against the Warriors, the 73-9 Warriors, to win a championship. I say that accomplishment is the highest accomplishment he's ever had in his career. And that right there is his main case for the GOAT conversation. Everything else is just gravy on top. But that right there is his main case. For Mahomes, I feel like his best case in the GOAT conversation would be that aspect. If he does something Brady's never done and three-peats, that is what he can hold on to straight up and say, I did something Brady never did. I three-peated. Because it's going to be difficult for Mahomes to beat Brady in the GOAT conversation. He's going to have the numbers at the end of his career, and he's going to probably finish with 5 to 7 rings. But he lost head-to-head twice against Brady in the postseason. One in the AFC Championship game, the other in the Super Bowl. So it's hard to win that debate, which is why you got to go a different path. Do something Brady never did, three-peat. And there's a good chance the Chiefs end up doing that this year. But at the end of the day, we're just here for football. If the Ravens can win it, cool. If not, it is what it is. Ain't nobody really tripping here. It's their legacy, not mine. Josh Johnson should not be in the NFL. Dude's 38 years old, man. He's just doing what he's doing. Yeah, he's been in the league for like 16 years, but he's just still happy to be around football, man. Josh, good quarterback for third string. Yeah, he's good to be a third string because you don't want him to be out there at all. He should not really be out there. You need us. Unfortunately, we need a second string quarterback, not a third string. But this is what it is. I'm convinced once the Ravens broke the record for the most preseason wins in a row, I'm sure they kind of don't care. We'll see how the season goes. After last season, anything can happen. Yeah, I mean, maybe you can say some people on the team don't really care, but Harbaugh seems like he cares about this. And the way he prepares and the way he goes about things in some cases, it seems like he cares about these preseason wins, or at least takes pride in these preseason wins, because it's a good indication of how much depth the Ravens have for them to be able to win with fourth stringers and fifth stringers and all this other stuff. Secondary will be awful this season. I disagree with that statement. With the depth they have in secondary, I don't think that would be the aspect that would be awful. If anything, you got to look at that D-line and that front seven overall. Maybe the pass rush would be seen as awful because nobody has any faith in David Ojabo, and people are looking at Dafle Owen waiting for him to break out. Other than Matabike and Cal Van Noy, nobody really on the front seven can consistently generate pressure. So, yeah, I would look at that whole front seven and say that's probably the aspect people think is going to be problematic instead of the secondary. Can't wait till Chiefs-Ravens week 1. I can honestly wait for that. I don't need that level of energy. That whole week is going to be nasty because if we lose that game, it's going to be like, adding to the narrative, can't beat Mahomes. Harbaugh can't beat Andy Reid, yada, yada, yada. It's going to add to the narrative. But if we win, and we win playing our style of football, everyone's going to be like, that's great that you won. You should have done that last year. Oh, you mean you ran the ball with Derrick Henry? Huh, you had Gus Edwards last year in the AFC title game. Why didn't you use him? If we win, they'll be like, why didn't you should have done this last year. But if we lose, you add to the narrative. There's no winning situation for us except winning the game if we can do so. So that whole week is going to be nasty for the agendas that's going to be pushed. No matter how it goes, it's either going to be people reminding us of the past of what we failed to do in the AFC title game, or people continuing to bring up the narrative that we can't beat these guys. It is what it is, man. Welcome back. Happy to see you again. I didn't see the game since it was on my local TV station and I was watching WWE SmackDown, but I hope it looked promising. There was some good stuff. There was some bad stuff, man. That's all I have to say. Hey, Sherry. Appreciate you stopping by. It's good to see you, too. Surprised they let Tyler Huntley go to my Browns. They weren't going to sign Tyler Huntley to a contract. We knew he was gone, so it is what it is. At the end of the day, he went wherever he went, so it is what it is. Kenny Pickett always seems to look good in the preseason. He had one good drive, but past that one good drive, there's not much to really speak about. And yeah, we do play the Eagles. Wow. We do play the Eagles again this season. In December, so that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. Yeah, we playing each other 2 times this year. Let that sink in. It's still fly Eagles fly all day, though. Yeah, it'll be an interesting game. Obviously, the biggest conversation about those games will be Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry versus Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. So that's going to be the aspect. But there's a lot of star power there. You look at the offense of the Eagles. You're going to look at Hurts. You're going to look at Saquon. You're going to have A.J. Brown there. You're going to have Devontae Smith. You've got star power there. We have at least some level of star power here. Lamar, Henry, Zay Flowers emerging, Mark Andrews. So it should be a relatively even match. And both defenses should be within the top 10. So it's going to be a really good matchup. I can't wait to hear the commentators try to prop that up as a potential Super Bowl preview like they always try to do with these matchups, knowing damn well a lot of times we see this, it doesn't end up being like that. But it is what it is. Commanders versus Chiefs Super Bowl, and Commanders get the dub. Simple. Don't do this, man. Don't do this. Do not do this, bro. Do not do this, okay? Do not do this. I know that we're supposed to be, happy and hyped about Jaden Daniels, but we're not about to just be saying delusional things like this. No, 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 no. I, I just hope Nate is gonna be fine. We already have a couple injuries in the secondary department. That is true. Hopefully it's nothing severe, but we're not gonna know tonight. They'll probably do some tests, and hopefully it's nothing severe. If it's anything severe, I'm gonna be pissed off. But we'll see. If the Chiefs do three-peat, they can go a decade without a ring like the Patriots. Unfortunately, that's not how that works. With the way the Chiefs are playing, you can't just assume all of a sudden they're just going to go on a drought just because they three-peat. That's not how that works, but it is what it is. Hey, D-line and O-line scare me. Wide receiver too. Those are the three aspects. In fact, I'm going to make a video involving those three aspects because those are the three biggest, positions on this team that really are a concern. Those are the three biggest aspects that's a concern. Oh, if other teams step up, I mean, we could play the if game, but until somebody shows that they can do so, I can't play the step up thing. We could assume or hope that the Texans are going to be a great team that's going to get it done, but they got a really tough schedule. I'm glad that the Texans have all this talent now because they're going to need that talent. Their schedule is brutal, and they're not going to, apparently, like everyone's been saying in the media, they're not going to catch anybody by surprise, which I don't think they caught people by surprise. It's just C.J. Stroud showcased that he's a really good quarterback. It's like MVP Lamar in 2019. He wasn't catching people by surprise. I don't think the Texans caught people by surprise. People started to understand that this guy is really good and they have a lot of talent, and they were watching the team be built up. I think it's because a lot of people looked at them and said they were what? They had 4 wins the previous year or something like that, and all of a sudden C.J. Stroud steps on the scene, and now they're a playoff team that can win the division. So that's why they're thinking people just caught. The Texans just caught people by surprise. But no, the Texans were building that team up for like 2 years now. They did a good job after, moving off from Deshaun Watson to build that team up. They just needed the quarterback. And they landed with that. They landed on the right guy in a CJ Stroud. So the Texans could be a team that comes out of nowhere. Or that not comes out of that, but emerges. They're not going to come out of nowhere because I think we already know what they are now. But they could be a team that emerges this year to be one of the elite of the elites that really will challenge Kansas City. I believe they do have them on their schedule, so I can't wait to see CJ go up against Mahomes, and we'll see how that goes. But, the Texans, maybe they get it done. Us Ravens fans are hoping Baltimore gets it done. We had them in the AFC title game at home. If we just stick to our game plan, many of us believe we would win the game, but we don't know what happens. We could play the if game all day, but, it doesn't guarantee anything specifically is going to happen with that. But, we'll just have to see. That's all I got to say. Would you have wanted Brandon Ayuk if he was available? I keep telling people this over and over again. In the, what are we now? It's in the nearly 30 years, too. Because I'm thinking back to 96, too. I'm going to just say 25 plus years. I don't feel the need to. Actually, yeah, it is nearly 30 years, too. It's 28 years, right? This will be 28 years. And the 28 years that the Ravens have been a franchise, they have never once traded for a top 10 receiver. Why do you guys continue to build this up as if this team is ever going to do it? Y'all always ask, would you want this top tier player if he's available? Of course we would want a top tier player if he's available. We're fans of this team. We obviously would want to have a top tier player as a Ravens fan. We want that. We want Lamar to have the best targets possible. We want him to be throwing to the best receivers in football alongside all the talent he has. We want Lamar to have the best weapons in football. But we know that's not going to realistically happen because that's not in the Ravens' DNA. The Ravens have never once traded for a top 10 receiver. They've never once. In their 28-year history, the Ravens have never once traded for a top-tier receiver. They've never traded for one. They've never signed for one. A lot of these top-tier receivers that they did sign for were heading out of their prime. When you get a Steve Smith Sr. that only had, 2-3 years left, that's not a top-tier receiver. They will never look to get a top-tier guy. They just have to be lucky enough to draft one. They're never going to draft a top. They're never going to trade for or sign a top tier guy because they're never going to be willing to give a receiver $20+ million. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So every time y'all keep doing this to yourselves, when all of a sudden some top tier receiver or player comes up, or offensive player as a whole comes up, and y'all keep saying Ravens got to go get him, which I'll tell you right now, guess who's the new name on the list? CeeDee Lamb. I already see people talk about let's go get CeeDee Lamb. Let's go get CeeDee Lamb. The Ravens are not paying a receiver that type of money. They've never done that. They've never done that. This is what they've always been. Why did you guys assume? Ozzie Newsome has been doing this since the beginning of this franchise. From 96 to 2018 when he was running things, Ozzie never traded for or signed a top 10 receiver. So, if Ozzie didn't do it, what made you think Eric DeCosta, a disciple of Ozzie, who spent years learning under Ozzie, who was part of that front office under Ozzie, learning the ropes so that when Ozzie retired, he would take over? Somebody that learned from Ozzie Newsome. What made you think that he was going to just go off of those teachings and all of a sudden bring in a guy that's a top tier receiver and pay him $20+ million? It's never happened. It's never going to happen. They're never going to pay a receiver that type of money. They're never going to trade for that type of guy because they know they would have to pay him that type of money. And they're not wasting draft picks on a guy they don't plan to pay. You see how they went and got Roquan Smith? They got Roquan Smith because they knew they were going to pay him. They go get guys they know they're going to pay, which is why a lot of times they go get defensive guys. I mean, this is the same team that watched this is the same team that watched Anquan Bolden ball out in the playoffs and then proceed to let him go to the Niners the following year. He balled out in the playoffs, helped us win a Super Bowl, and then they just said, you can go. And they watched him go to the Niners. This is the same franchise that did that. Nothing's going to change. Don't ask for no Brandon Ayuk. Don't ask for no CeeDee Lamb. Don't ask for none of these guys because the Ravens aren't even going to entertain the thought. They're not, because they're not paying these receivers that type of money. They're never going to. The one thing that's going to be scary in a couple years is if Zay Flowers turns into a top-tier receiver. Because if Zay Flowers emerges as a legitimate top-tier receiver, they're going to have to pay him top-tier money. And they're not going to want to do that. They're just not going to want to. So that's going to be very difficult if Zay Flowers develops the way we expect him to. It's going to be very interesting how that goes. But it is what it is. But yeah, in terms of what I want Brandon Ayuk, of course I would want Brandon Ayuk. I would want a CeeDee Lamb. I would want any top-tier receiver. But I understand the Ravens are not going to do that. So I'm never going to sit here and get hype whenever one of these guys comes into the market. I'm never going to sit here and be on Twitter like, Ravens got to go get this guy. Please, Ravens, you need this. They're not going to. I'm not going to waste my energy on something I know is never going to happen. This is how the Ravens have always been. Unless you get a brand new GM that's going to change his way, which I don't see why they would do that because Eric DeCosta has built this team however he's built it. And they've been successful however you look at it as a franchise compared to other franchises. Eric DeCosta is going nowhere. And they're not looking to change anytime soon. Unless he changes his philosophy or they bring in somebody else to kind of handle that aspect, it's going to be the same thing. So there's no point in continuing to think, oh yeah, they're going to go really sign or trade for a top tier receiver and then pay him that type of money. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I hope they don't do another Hopkins trade. I was really angry at that. It is what it is. Yeah, he should be a cornerback or a safety. Ravens will throw him money. If it's a defensive player, they'll always throw that defensive player money, especially if he's top tier. Man, if they would have gotten their hands on Darius Slay, it'd be a different conversation, man. It'd have been a different conversation. Philly made sure he was coming back, but they would have paid Darius Slay top tier money. No question. I'll tell you this right now. Brandon Stevens balls out and emerges as one of the best corners in the game. They're going to give him a contract. But Zay Flowers, let him keep balling out like that. We'll see how that works. I ain't going to lie. We need to stop being cheap on offense. We have put too much money into defense, and we have been constantly failing. They're not going to change up. They're not going to start putting money on the offense from a contract perspective. The way the Ravens like to do things is they'll put money into their defense via trade and free agency, and they'll try to build the offense through the draft. Unfortunately, not only are we terrible at trying to bring wide receiver talent to Baltimore, we're also not great at developing receivers. You just have to be able to hit on somebody and hope it works out for the best. They hit on Hollywood, but he didn't want to stay. And now he's in Kansas City catching bombs from Mahomes. Can't wait to see how he does in week 1. That's going to be a problem. And now you have Zay Flowers, who they just landed on. If he works out, it's going to be very difficult to have a conversation about him when it comes to him wanting to get his contract. Luckily for you, you got 3 years to not have to worry about that. But after that, good luck. What's going on, Deshaun? See, your team lost, but it's only preseason. No big deal. Bro, we doing the same things. I could tell you this straight up, Deshaun. 3 times, man. 3 times. 3 times, bro. 3 times. Week 1, Deshaun. I know I gotta be here for that stream. Hopefully I'm not working that day, but I know I'm gonna be here for that stream. Deshaun, pull up to that Chiefs Ravens stream in week 1. I'm telling you this right now. I've already predicted it. There's gonna be 3 moments where John Harbaugh makes a decision that's gonna harm this team, and chances are it'll cost us that game. What Harbaugh did tonight was one of those moments, and I ain't even gonna talk about it again. But what he did tonight was one of those moments. Yeah, don't forget that he wanted $7 million. Ravens said, hell no. Yeah, again, they let him go to the Niners, but they didn't want to pay him, so he went to San Francisco. Ravens have always been a defensive team. They've never been a true offensive team. They got Roquan, but didn't get a wide receiver when Rashad Bateman got injured the rest of the season in 2022. Yeah, this is the type of team they'll spend a second-round pick and then pay. This is the type of team they'll spend a second-round pick on Roquan Smith and then pay him the money he wants. And at the same time, look at offense and say, let's go get Deshaun Jackson. They really did that. They really did that. Their answer in 2022 was Deshaun Jackson. Their answer in 2020 was Dez Bryant. These are the guys they're bringing in. Guess what their answer is in 2024? His name is Russell Gage. You lost Odell? Let's bring in Russell Gage. I mean, he played for the Falcons 5 years ago, even though the last time he did perform was with the Bucs in 2022. But this is the same process with them. In 2020, let's get Dez Bryant. 2022, let's go get Deshaun Jackson. Now, guess what? It's Russell Gage. Enjoy. Zay Flowers has the potential for sure. He definitely does, which is why I'm going to enjoy him as long as he's a Raven, because I don't know if he's going to be here that long. If the ball doesn't get knocked out against the Chiefs, then maybe the Ravens win the Super Bowl. Let's not forget. We'll have those conversations for a million years, but I'm not going to think about what ifs. It doesn't change the past. I'm already past that AFC Championship loss. I'm just thinking right now. The only thing I think about when it comes to that game is not even just the game itself. It's the trade that we tried to get for Derrick Henry. Because in my mind, if we trade for Derrick Henry and get him on the Ravens last year, there's no way we don't go to the Super Bowl. In my mind, with Derrick Henry on this team, there's no way we lose that AFC title game. Because there's no way they're not going to hand him the ball. But that's a different conversation for a different time. I don't like to really play the what-if games for the most part. The team lost. Chiefs won a championship. There's nothing to really talk about. It's a brand new season. We got to start off in Kansas City, and that's kind of just our focus for the most part. Justin Simmons and Stephon Gilmore could come in. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to get one of those guys. I would not be surprised if they try to get one of those guys. They could very well do it. Though Simmons is actually for a lot of money, and the Ravens... They like bringing in guys, but they also like to bring in guys cheap. Let Brandon Stevens walk if he breaks out. They're not doing that. They're not doing that. I can tell you for sure they're not doing that. They're going to try to get him in on a team-friendly deal to try to keep him in, and there's a good chance Brandon Stevens is going to take that deal. I don't think they're going to let him walk. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. But yeah, I think I'm going to end it here for the most part. Honestly, this wasn't supposed to be a long stream. I just wanted to talk about the fact that the Ravens lost that preseason game in the funniest way possible. We've lost so many not preseason games, but we've lost so many games like that Just a crazy decision, a crazy exchange, a crazy moment that just cost us. We've had so many painful losses just because of certain decisions that were made in certain moments. It's crazy how many games we've lost just like that. It's an unfortunate situation. It's an unfortunate situation for Jones. Again, I don't want to pile on to the guy, and I hope no one else is looking to pile on to the guy. But we know how social media is. They're going to be cooking this guy. And as Ravens fans, anytime somebody makes a bad play like that, it's going to show. And they're going to be on the case. So I hope people aren't really looking to blame him like that. Again, I don't really blame him for that. He only came in to have one snap. A quarterback that didn't play the whole game now has to come try to lead a game-winning drive to get us in the field goal range. That's insanity, and I don't even know why Harbaugh entertained that. But yeah, I'm not going to blame him for that. Other than that, it's a preseason game. Who cares about the loss? It's just the fact that Harbaugh is still doing things like this, and we're trying to win a Super Bowl here. Lamar, Henry, I'm going to leave it to y'all, bro. No. Lamar, Henry, Todd, I'm going to leave it up to y'all. Defense is going to be top 10 no matter what you look at it. This defense will find a way to be top 10. So we know come playoff time, the Ravens defense is going to be a top 10 unit. They're going to hold teams to around 20. At most, they're giving up 24. It'll be somewhere between, I'll say somewhere between 12 and 24 points they're going to give up in every playoff game. They've done a great job other than the one game against the Titans. Other than that one game, the defense has done a great job holding teams to under 24 points. That's usually what they do. So, for the most part, I know the defense is going to show up come playoff time for the most part. They've been doing that the last few years. The offense is what the issue is. So this year, Lamar, Henry, Monken, I'm going to leave it to you. I don't care what decision-making or what choices or decisions John Harbaugh chooses to make. I'm going to leave it up to you three to figure it out. Work around it or something. I don't know. Anyway, guys, I'm going to end it here for the most part. I wasn't even expecting a stream today. I was supposed to make a recap of this game tomorrow, but the way that game ended, I just had to hop on the stream real quick and just speak about that. Such a crazy way for the Ravens to lose a football game. Just, your defense is getting carved up with the running game. They get into field goal range. Jake Elliott kicks a 50-yard field goal, and it gets doinked. Just straight up doinked. So they miss it, and now all of a sudden, with 16 seconds left, all you need is a good 10 to 15 yards to get within Tucker range, and you will be able to give him a shot to try to win the game. And on the very first play of that opportunity, you bring in a new quarterback, he gets strip sacked, and all of a sudden, the Eagles get another chance to win the game, and they do. So it's crazy how that happened. It is what it is. What also sucks is Nate Wiggins got hurt. We have no idea the severity of that injury. We'll find out tomorrow. So we'll just have to see how that goes. But man, Nate Wiggins getting hurt really pissed me off because he was balling out. But it is what it is. Anyway, guys, I'm going to end it here. I appreciate y'all stopping by. Football is officially back, and I got to get back into it. But, it's going to be a little bit of a twist this season. And I don't even know how many times I'm going to be out here streaming with y'all. But, that's a different conversation for a different time. We'll speak about that later. With that being said, I appreciate you guys stopping by. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace out.